Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Miss Catchburn.
How was
How
your
you doing?
day?
I'm good. Tired today.
Okay.
You sure you're good?
Yeah, good. I'm just tired. Oh, I want to go to bed and sleep right now.
Oh,
How are you guys doing?
Your
Hey,
week.
Kim.
huh?
Kim,
Oh, yeah.
how are you guys
Hello,
doing?
sorry I didn't hear.
I said good evening.
Good evening.
I'm doing fine.
How's your week?
Uh,
Oh,
seems like yours was really good.
Oh, me. All right, was just busy.
What was
yeah.
your greatest lesson this week?
I think answering that genius goal question
Mm.
took
Okay.
me back.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought would have been my answer was not my answer when I sat down to write my answer to the question.
Okay.
That one was deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And moving forward, it would be like that.
I mean I
Because,
know like all of them is like that, but that one I think it was wow.
yeah, moving forward, it would definitely be like that because now you see, you recognize that you need to dig a little deeper
Mm-hmm.
to
That
answer.
is true. No, but not dig a, when you say dig a little deep, I think you have to you're going back to childhood or wherever to kind of figure out
Mm-hmm.
where everything's stemming from.
Mm-hmm. But there's also the opportunity for you to discover you and also to discover how far you have
Mm,
come,
that's
you
true.
know?
Mhm.
So, moving forward, the genius goals question would be a little deeper.
Yeah.
Ensure that it's really to keep you as aligned as possible too.
But I think to really maximize it, you have to be very honest with yourself,
Yep.
very transparent with yourself
Mm-hmm.
to be able to move forward.
Yeah. And that is why you're really discovering more of you in the process.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. Anastasia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How was your experience answering the Genius Schools question this week?
Hmm. Yeah, it was heavy. It was deep. Because they asked you if you had difficulty answering the question, and I said yes.
Okay.
Because you had us to really dig deep. You had us to go backwards, and you had us, and as Lisa say, you had us to be really honest with yourself,
Yeah.
which is all good. All that you need for the growth process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is needed. And I am thinking that everybody should do the junior school questions, even though whether you're signing up for it or not, everybody should do it. It is a great help.
Yeah.
I totally agree with Anastasia. You learn so much about yourself. Even if you don't want to submit your answer, take the time out to just answer because it really helps with the self reflection
Mm-hmm.
and self growth.
And even the fill in the blanks, you have so much reading to do to find the answer for the blanks. I say to myself, I sure is that I sure is that I have me doing all this reading.
It's actually not me. It is
It's not
someone
you.
else. No, it's not me. It's not me. It's not me.
What? That is where I'm reading for it.
But the storyline does really have you thinking. It does take you into a different place. It does help you to even understand the tools and stuff even
Yes, the
deeper.
writing, the
Yeah,
writing. What? The articles, really, really good
yeah.
too. So I think everybody should do it. Whether you're submitting or you're not submitting, everybody should take part in the Genius
Yes.
Workshop.
Yes, yes, yes. And really, that is why it is there because you recognize that you're discovering more and more of yourself. You have the opportunity to really look within and see, okay, this is probably where this started. This is why I had this belief. This is no longer serving me. Let me release it. Because sometimes you're so deep in a pattern that you don't even recognize how much it's not working for you, but yet you're holding on to it because of attachment.
But I feel like with this question put specifically,
Mm-hmm.
it was the attachment, but I think it took you back. It may not so be the answer to everything, but it took you back to the beginning, the root problem. It might be one out of several, but it took you back to the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of I don't even, it took you back to that seed, the seed of where everything stemmed from,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is you would consider problematic or whatever problem or whatever thing you have to work on. That question took you back to the core of it. That's how I felt about answering it. It took you back to finding that place in time, may it be in childhood, adulthood, wherever, like whatever you're going through, it you had to go back to that space, that time to find the root cause.
Yeah. Certainly, 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 yes. And Mr. SGL, how are you this evening?
Uh, I am blessed. Let's just say this week I feel the punches, but I'll
Okay, okay. And what was your biggest lesson within the punches this week?
say that again.
What was your biggest lesson?
Honestly, I'm still discovering that. I'm accepting. Sometimes you do something or you say something, and then someone else feels a certain way about it, and you're like, "Well, I think what I did was right." But you also don't want to be too arrogant or insensitive. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
still processing it. I feel comfortable, but at the same time, my own personal values is that, in as much as possible, I'm trying not to hurt others, right? I'm trying to be, for me, not necessarily how others might perceive me. This is not about the ego necessarily. This is about how some of my personal values. I've learned to start stepping up for myself, standing up for myself, expressing what I want and don't want. And at the same time, I'm also trying to be mindful how perceiving in terms of hurt, not in terms of judgment, because if I truly believe I'm right and someone feels a certain way about it, I can deal with that because I know I have that clarity of thoughts and mind.
Mm-hmm.
This particular instant, I'm still like, wait, I don't think I did anything wrong, did I? So I'm still going back and forth in my own mind about it. And at the same time, because obviously it's an adverse experience, lately I've been finding myself to be on a good path. I'm trying to be conscious and present. And when these things happen, even though I question it, it does kind of take me out of rhythm a little bit, even if it's for me to kind of question as opposed to just being. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's my reflection. I'm still processing it.
Okay. Because remember, everything you're experiencing is for your expansion.
You said,
Whether Say it again.
You say it's an extension?
It is for your expansion.
Yes, yes, indeed.
It is for your expansion. So at the end of the day, remember, life is not really concerned about whether it is a good or bad experience. What is important is that that is what is required for you in the moment, for you to expand yourself as a being. Even though you may not understand it in the moment, eventually you would, because there is always something to learn. There is always a lesson to learn. Unless you make up your mind there is nothing to learn in this moment and I have learned enough, and but there is always a lesson to learn in the moment.
I want to be at that point where I don't want to learn anymore.
We are always learning, and sometimes from the smallest of individuals. But I tend to learn a lot of lessons from. I have a nephew who, listen, he was very, very different as a child growing up. Whereas the rest of us were calm, he was bouncing off the walls. He was catching my father's fish out of the pond in the back and just leaving them to die. He did a lot of stuff. So that was our opportunity to expand as well. You know, he has since grown out of it in some ways, but yet now there are other things that are surfacing. So we are still getting a lot of opportunities to expand with this particular nephew. But there is always an opportunity for expansion. Always, always, always. And even as we look at tonight's topic, which is from burnout to balance, how has burnout been affecting your life? That is the question for tonight. How has burnout been affecting your life?
I think I think I can talk for myself. Growing up in a household where my mother was a housewife, and you know, I think for that generation, like the housewife, you cook, you clean, take care of the kids, do laundry, you serve your husband, you take his plate, you wash the plate. So for me, when I was younger, married, that was my role. That's what I knew. That's what I did. I'd come home from work from Friday, and it would be you start laundry, you have all your laundry, you have all your stuff, you do all your stuff on Saturday, get up, you put on your music, you clean the house from top to bottom until like 3, 4 o'clock. You go grocery shopping, you do all of that stuff on Saturday. On Sunday it was get up, you cook your big Sunday meal. And by Sunday evening you're tired, you gotta go to work Monday. And that was a cycle. And that's what I thought, that's what I knew. That's what you think as a wife. That's your role.
Mm-hmm.
Till, you years pass and you're married and you have someone, you have that husband and your kids and whatever. Of course, you're thinking, your kid's too young to do this, or your kid's too young to start to cook, or you know, and you take on the role of that for your kids. And as time go on, you realize like I'm just one person. I'm tired. I mean, tired to the point that your body would shut down on you, and you have no choice but to just lay down because your body just literally can't go anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You sometimes you get to the point where you feel like you have a fever, you have chills, you have aches, you have pain because you're just so exhausted. And I remember now, after you've been in a marriage, you have your kids, that's how they see you. You turn to, your spouse and you're like, okay, well, I need your help. To be told, well, and you want to be superwoman, so do it all by yourself. So you created this culture within your home, and then when it became too much for you, you're looking for someone to come and take some of the burden off. So I've learned that, and even then, I mean, I didn't learn it a lot, but over the years, you learn that when you're tired, you just rest.
Hmm.
When I get home from work now on a Friday, I do nothing. Saturday, I would get up late. I have to do my groceries if I don't feel like doing groceries, if I don't feel like cooking. I mean, now my kids are older too, so I don't have that responsibility like I had before. But you learn how to prioritize you, because if you don't rest, there's a point in time when your body will force you to rest.
Hmm.
So that was my burnout, and now I'm working on prioritizing me.
But can you identify when you are burnt out?
Now I feel like every Friday, once I'm driving home from work, that's my burnout. So
Okay.
once I get home from work, I get in the house, I take my shower, I do nothing.
Okay.
I do nothing. That was my time. There's still times when, like you have to get up, you have to go, some weeks might be busier than some, but generally, like I'm so kind of in tune with my body that when it's like you could feel when your body is just like extremely tired, or you start feeling fatigued, or you need to sleep more, and I don't push past that anymore. Like I need to sleep, because you realize when you function in that place where your body is not rested, things tend to not go right. You might be cooking, the food don't taste good, it burn, or this fall, or something break, or you know what I mean? But when you get to rest and you wake up and you have a certain, like a different, like clarity, you at peace, the things that you're doing seem to go by so much faster, so much easier. So I learn now to just like listen to my body.
Okay. Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised because I know for those who joined a little late, the question being asked is how has burnout been affecting your life?
Well, in some ways similar to Lisa, but not similar to Lisa. I didn't have that husband experience, nor did my experience with seeing my mother try that last very long in my senses. That ended somewhere when I was 6 because the marriage broke up. And but in terms of, I used to pride myself on feeling tired, particularly where my career was concerned. You felt as though you were done something when you worked 16-hour days and you did this and you did that. So you could say that, I worked and I worked until 11 o'clock in the night and I did this and I did that. And as though it was some kind of badge of honor. In the meantime, my mother passed. And then I had to take up the duties that she had, because without recognizing it, we had started to operate like a couple in the home, because she lived with me in the last 6 years of her life and she wasn't ill. And so she was really taking care of my son and the house. And I was going out to work and earning. So without even recognizing it, that is what happened. And I would work long, 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 really long hours. And when she went suddenly, then had to figure it out. And the whole notion of things must be, the house must look a particular way, this must look a particular way, I quickly had to get rid of that. Now, the strange part about it was that I held on to the career path. So I was still in the mindset that, oh, if you're not putting in all these hours, you're not doing something and you're not achieving something. And you had to have this badge of honor because when I meet other people, you have to say, well, your day was longer than their day and everybody's working so hard and things are so hard. And then when I left the job, when I had to leave the last job that I had before I started my own business, I slept for 3 months. I slept for 3 months. I left in October, and it was only somewhere around January, February that I started to catch myself. Only to realize that just how tired I was. Just how tired. There were days when I would just not be able to do anything, but I would still be trying to at least keep the house and so forth until it just dawned on me, listen, you cannot do everything. You either get someone who will come in and help you clean the house, or you do the minimum. And there will be days you can do more, and there will be days I can do less. And on the days that, and even then, I still didn't learn the lesson because there was a time when I was almost, if you want to say, put on bed rest. Not by a doctor, but by the universe. Every time I got up in the morning, by the time I made 2 steps, my head would be spinning and I would hear rest today and I would say, rest. Everybody else is doing something. Why am I trying to rest? I have to get up. I have to do this. I have to do that. And of course, I would try to do something because I was not accustomed. I looked at rest as something as being lazy. I would actually question myself, are you being lazy? Do you need all this rest? Look, this is gone. Scrolling didn't help me because scrolling would show me my colleagues and what they were doing and how they were launching this and doing that. And I'm saying, I'm on my back, Lord, I have to get something to do. And the little voice would say, rest, lie, hey, take care of yourself, sleep. And I would still be fighting to get into that space of activity because it's so ingrained in you that if you're not doing something, you are not worthy of even the air you're breathing. So get up and do something. And little by little, as the years passed, and Christmas used to be a big deal for me. Oh my goodness, Christmas followed by Diwali. Easter, all those things where you grow up watching rituals being followed. So it had to be just right. Easter curtains had to come down, wash the place. Jesus is risen again. So you have to have everything bright and new. And over time, I was just like, you don't have to wait for Easter to wash the curtains. If you have a spare moment, put them in the wash machine, dry them, and put the same ones back up. There's no need to be going to exert yourself over things. If I use a plate now, I try to wash it right away. There's no reason to stand over a sink of weights. If I have the time and look, I see the water pressure is good, the weather is good, maybe I'll put in a load of clothes. But the badge of honor that you adopted from looking around at other people and from listening, and some of these self-development books do not help you at all. They're just not helpful. So you learn that this badge of burnout, your burnout badge, is not a good one. Is not something I'm listening to this. At least I'm listening to you describe the rituals, and I'm saying no. I no. That really wasn't fair to that generation. It really wasn't fair, and it's not fair to even try to continue it. So even the whole business now of Sunday lunch. What is Sunday lunch? Sunday lunch now is whatever is in the refrigerator, or whatever I fit to eat at that point in time. And I would have cooked it on Saturday. So those who can't eat stale food or those who can't eat refrigerated food, that's okay. You cook for yourself. And so now the idea is to stay in the knowledge that If you don't take care of yourself will take care of you. And you might not like how self takes care of you because there's no, it is not a badge of honor to be burnt out mentally. You can't think. I remember going to a camp and a child asked me a simple question. And I recognized, I snapped at the little child. And I'm saying, no, 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 no. If that simple question caused you to snap, it means you're so tired. You're just tired. And it was about maybe a year later in, again, some of the Befit Man classes that you learn that if you if your energy is so fragmented, you will not be able to get thoughts. A good thought cannot form in your mind. Everything will be too much for you. Everything will be a burden to you. And before long, you will be snapping at people. And then it is just compounding because then nobody wants to be around you. And then you go on spiraling again. So I no longer try to, and then again, I tied it up with my profession, the image consultant. So if anybody comes to your home, it must look pristine. It must be this. Who's coming to my home? Anybody coming to my home unless I invite them? So, okay, so it's not all dusted and everything, but for now, I have learned to manage what you can manage. Do not look for this badge of honor because it will kill you.
Mm.
And I would like to be here for 125 years. Yes, in good health.
Yes. So, all right. So, in the question of how has burnout been affecting your life, what I am hearing is that it is something that was adopted from previous generations. It is something that was adopted from looking at your colleagues. And again, you realize both of them coming from outside of you. So, as we continue, anyone else would like to share how has burnout been affecting your life?
I think we don't even realize, like, one of the points that Catherine made is, when she snapped at the little child. I think when you have a family and you have kids and especially when your kids are small, and you come home from work, is that misdirected anger from due to the tiredness and stuff like that. And your kids really pay the price.
Mhm.
And then your kids grow up not knowing how to talk to you, not knowing when to talk to you, not knowing how to communicate. And it a lot of times it put a wedge between you and your child or your children. And for a long time, like I said, based on what I saw from from my mother, is they never used to think about the kids. Your kids didn't have a say. Like whatever they said was like null and void. I'm the parent, do as I say, not as I do. But
Mhm.
in learning and in getting the knowledge and becoming aware, you realize how much these you being burnt out affect affects the relationship with your children.
Mhm. And it
I
affects. Okay, go ahead.
no, I just wanted to contribute this on this issue of burnout. Um, if you were growing up and seeing poverty all around you, and you decided that you didn't want to for yourself, you wanted to be successful, you wanted to be um, you realized that success meant doing well at school because you didn't have the money to buy anything. So
Mhm.
you had to use education to get to the top kind of thing. And so that was me. I was very ambitious, always wanted to come first in tests, always looking at the fact that I had to make it to the top, which I did in a lot of areas. The areas that I took on, I was the first woman actually in agriculture to graduate with a certain kind of degree and all that. And but afterwards I realized that you didn't have to do all of that. If what I learned is if I actually followed my spirit, what my spirit tell me to do, everything has come easy. And I don't want to kill myself or do anything overly. I just go with a certain kind of flow and move with what it tells me to do for the day, and everything is just work out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to kill yourself. Thanks.
Yes, that is essentially really what it is. But remember, for a lot of us, we did not grow up knowing that there are three aspects of your being, and you need to place focus on all three. And also, in focusing on all three, that is where you would have balance come in. Because even today, I was having a conversation with a friend, just catching up, and he was saying he has to leave Trinidad soon to go and look for a friend overseas because the friend wasn't feeling well. Think it's something just like the flu or something. He went to the doctor and they did a lot of tests, and then they said he has stage 4 cancer. So sometimes from burnout, you're in the cycle or the pattern for so long, you can't even identify that you're out of balance because you think that this is your default setting because you are doing it for so long. And that is why I asked the question in terms of, can you identify if you are burnt out or when you are burnt out? Because sometimes you're in the pattern for so long, you're thinking that this is just what it is. And even for me, I have experience that I was always in, like my body was always in a tense state. So now I am managing it a lot more better. So my shoulders would always be like this. So I always have to be dropping them. Always like this. So always have always now. And again, it comes with slowing down. And even with slowing down and you're trying to relax your body. And again, it's sometimes some things you build up, sometimes from work, from situations at home. Sometimes you don't even know that you're doing it. That is why it is very important to identify that it is happening because it is something that you need to pay attention to. And now, what I have recognized is that my allergies are getting way better. So, whereas before, like my AC is on right now and it is not too bad because before I could put AC on and in 5 minutes I have to take it off because I can't breathe. I'm suffocating literally. And you really have to pay attention because the signs are there. But if your focus is not there, you would recognize that you're missing all the signs and you are experiencing burnout. In a conversation with another friend as well, he was experiencing back pain, went to the doctor and he was asking the doctor, well, when he could start back to work. And the doctor say, I cannot even give you a date because your body does not know the difference between the two. So he has been working through pain and causing even more damage. And the doctor said, I'm not giving you an end date at all because you don't even know the difference. And some people have been in this state for years where they're not even aware of what the difference is. So that is a major question that you have to ask yourself. Can you even identify when you are burnt out? Or do you think, like me, it's just allergies? My sinus just keep raising and it's not going away. What is your body telling you? What are you not paying attention to? Yes, Mr. SGL?
I got to listen to the question again, feeling burnt out. I think oftentimes I personally associate that with work, right? I'm at
Mm-hmm.
work, burnt out, maybe I'm not motivated or I don't feel I'm compensated. That is not the common case with my current job, even though, yes, I could certainly get paid more. But when I think about it in terms of our daily life for real, I think a lot of us go to the motion
Yes.
without realizing it. And what do I do? I think like obviously the dynamic is different because culturally, I think men and women sometimes we play different role and it doesn't always present the same way. But I will tell you sometimes it's that degree of numbness that comes up, right? It's almost like you do what you gotta do and then it's like blah. There's no energy. There's no interest in doing anything that is uplifting and that you find joy because you're just going through that phase. Oftentimes I think we just equate it to the blues or temporary depression and what have you, without really taking time out to say, hey, I'm going through this because I'm burnt out. I'm doing too much. I'm overwhelmed and I need to step away from all these things and replenish. I think many of us don't get to do it. And again, I don't mean to speak for the whole room. I don't get to do that often enough for sure. Because especially if you are responsible, a responsible party, you just move on to doing the next task without really showing love and care to ourselves, at least to myself. So thank you for the question. It definitely helped me to think about that even more and to be more intentional about how I take care of myself. So
Mhm.
thank
Because even in a conversation with my same friend who has to leave to visit his friend who has stage 4 cancer, we were discussing the fact that we don't even know how to balance. We don't even know what that is. We don't even know the word. We can't even identify it. Because again, you're in a pattern for so long, so you're thinking this is what it is. And you would recognize there are some persons who, when you go out, particular races, when you go out, you would see them with their families. They always on the beach. They in the cinema together. They always together. You see them sometimes online. They always having family gatherings. They're always together doing some outdoor activity. It could be the simplest thing. It could be just going by a river and cook. It could be all of us going to the mall. It could be everybody come by me and we cook. And it is also the opportunity to ask yourself, what do you do for balance? Don't tell me just go on a weekend and sleep. That is default. Everybody has to sleep. What do you do for balance?
But could I ask a question about don't tell me going home and sleep? What if that is, I mean, outside of yes, you need to interact with people, but if this
Not
is your,
always
but if
interact.
this is, yeah, but if this is your Zen space, like you go home and this is where you really feel like you're unwinding
Mhm.
and you're comfortable in that space, then why is that not like a default?
Then why did the universe create all the parks and the rivers and the ocean and everything else for us to regenerate ourselves? If we are supposed to just stay home.
But I mean, there's a time and a place. There's time where you feel like okay, because for me it's like if I what I wanted to say today is
Much
for
hand raised right now.
me is like there's two types of burnout. There's like a mental burnout and a physical burnout, right? But it's and one they both intermingle with each other, right?
Mhm.
But like when you're physically exhausted,
Mhm.
sometimes you need that reset. So sometimes you need to just like sleep it off because if
Mhm.
you're physically exhausted and you're having the joint pain and the whatever, yes, for the mental, I could see like I went through certain things. For the mental, yes, going out into a park, going out into nature is very relaxing. Just spending time out is very relaxing. But I think to say, going home and sleep as a default is
No, remember you have to sleep every day. That is the default. Your body needs rest, yes, but in terms of finding balance, because remember, rest is already built into your routine. In terms of finding balance, and I even know for Melissa, who I don't know why I keep calling you the wrong name. I apologize, Marissa. For Marissa, who is always in nature, there is a major, major difference because, yes, I am not saying that sleep and your home is not your comfort. I am not saying no. But within it, try to schedule some time to actually go out in nature because, all right, I see in four hands raised, guys are coming. Because there is something that is very, very regenerative about it. And a lot of times, you see, if you don't do it often, a lot of times you're totally, totally unaware of how much it does help your being as a whole. All right, so I'm going from, I think it was Catherine first. Because I know it have four hands raised, guys. I will get to you
It
in.
was Kim.
It was Kim. Okay, yes, Kim.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wanted to answer um Lisa at being, well, I'm not a new mom anymore. It's 4 years. But in the beginning, being a new mom, I thought that sleep was the balance. But after a while and seeing that it was not working to bring balance, I realized that sleep is just rest. It just is that. It's just rest. But the balance work, I understand what you mean about the home being your zen space and whatnot. So the balance will come from having a nice bath, having a nice soak, go and sit outside and getting some fresh air like that. But the sleep is just the balance. The sleep is just the rest. Maybe the sleep could be the start of the balance before you go outside and take a nice sit outside. You maybe take a little nap and get some rest and then go out. Or after you come in from outside, you want to take a little nap and rest. Yes, but I thought that the sleep was the balance and it was not working out, getting flustered and frustrated and sick. And during that morning, oh God, but I getting rest. And realizing, no, sleep is just rest. That's it. But it's not the balance. You need the something else. You need the quiet space, the read the book. You need the outside. You need to walk away from the little one like I'm doing right now because he's following me. But you need the balance. And the sleep is really just rest. That's it. And you wake up this feeling a little rested but still flustered because you go back to visit. So you really need the need something else other than just rest. Thanks.
Okay. Catherine, I think you were next.
What's happening?
Oh, okay. Ebony. All right. Ebony, are you there?
Hello?
Yes. Hello. Hello, Ebony. All right. So
Are you
I'm not.
hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I was going to say that the way that, or suggest a perspective, in terms of balance, you think about it as how you like to fill your cup or filling your cup versus pouring out of your cup. And I think rest or sleep in this context is more of, it's not, it's more of recharging, as in you need to recharge your battery to continue pouring. It's not from a place of I'm doing activities that fill my cup, and then I want to, um, or it doesn't come from a place of I am doing activities that fill my cup. It's usually come from a place of I am pouring into others, I'm working, I am exhausting myself, and now I need to rest. Because I
Mhm.
think when you're filling your cup, you feel energized. You don't feel like you want to go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, yes. Because usually when you fill your cup, and guys, it doesn't have to be nature. It could be in whatever. It could be in what you like to do as a child. You always like to paint. You like to draw. I don't know, whatever it is that you enjoy. Some people develop um a lot of hobbies that they really enjoy, and when they immerse themselves in it and they come out after, you feel refreshed. You feel like, okay, I could go again. And hopefully nature persons, they would feel like this after coming out of nature. Because for me, once I go on the beach, I just feel as though everything fall off. Every single thing just drop. For other people, it is different. Even we went on a bike ride recently, and that bike ride was so refreshing and it was so reminiscent of childhood. And I don't know, what do you enjoy? And even in this topic, in terms of thinking about being overwhelmed and feeling, stressed and anxiety and burnt out, is your opportunity to also identify, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? When was the last time you did it? Do you schedule it into your time? I'm gonna do this twice a month. I'm gonna do this once a month. I'm going to. What do you do with it? You like to do this thing and then that's it? What do you even do with it? Or you always, as Mr. SGL saying, well, you're thinking about your responsibilities and you're always pushing it to the back, pushing it to the back, pushing it to the back, and then eventually it fall off the stove and you haven't done it in for the year or for the past 5 years when it's something that you really enjoy doing it. And yes, Mr. SGL, I know that your hand raised as well.
Oh no, that was from before. I apologize. I'll
Oh,
go.
okay, okay. All right, Catherine, yes.
Is it
What
still
I,
up?
Go
excuse
ahead.
me.
What were you saying, SGL?
Is my hand still up? Because I
No,
meant.
no, no. It's down now.
Okay.
All right.
In terms of sleep, Lisa, I could relate to what you are talking about, but I have to say that what Ebony said is spot on. Because when you use home as the place for balancing yourself only, and that balance shows up as sleep or lying down doing nothing, then to me that is really, and I'm going to use a word and I'm going to use it for me, not for you. That is hiding away from everything else. Because I remember being asked by a gentleman one day that I would not have minded having a wonderful glass of wine with. What do you do for fun? What do you do for fun? And I could not come up with a single answer. All that was in my head was work and church, work and church, work and church, sleep. And I actually had the nerve to say, well, I sleep. I really like to sleep. Sleeping is fun. And I don't have to tell you all, I did not get a glass of wine. And there was no further conversation. Because when you look at that answer, is really you are tired. That is why you're sleeping so much and finding such joy in just hiding away from the world, because you're looking for a place to rest. Not that it is enjoyable, or I think there's a mix that has to come in, and this is for me, because what I would say is, yes, it's Friday afternoon. Thank God. I could watch a movie on my phone. I could probably eat some snacks. And then what? But when I schedule something into the weekend, you know you're going to sleep. You have to sleep at some stage. But the other day I was feeling ill. I was in the house and I was not feeling my best. And I just said, you know what? Go outside. Just go outside. And I went to the side of the house and I picked up two little weeds. And before long, I got a plastic bag and I did some more and I did some more. I ended up spending about half an hour to hour outside. And when that hour was over, I couldn't even find where that sick feeling was. And it just energized me. But when I look at myself and I see that sleep part coming in, I recognize it now as that is not that is not part of balancing yourself. That is part of you are tired. And you need to sleep. But the sleep cannot and should not substitute for interaction, because eventually you may find yourself developing another pattern which excludes everything else, which excludes you lock yourself little by little into your home. So you leave your home only to go to work. And before long, you might be finding a way to work from home so that you don't have to leave the comfort and the convenience of never having to do the other things, never having to get up and get dressed, never having to go out and interact and force yourself to mingle with other persons, which is something that I have to be ever mindful of. That you want certain things, or the things you want are out of your house, and recognize that you could do some things at home and some things are really not helping me to go where I need to go or to be where I need to be, because I am confusing needing to sleep because I'm tired with the so-called routine that I think I have, where you're relaxing at home and this and that. So I say all of this to say, Lisa, that recognize sleep for what it is. And when I couldn't answer that guy, what do I do for fun? And I was telling him I sleep. It brought home to me that you are just tired and your activities are boring. There's no spark, and there's nothing and that's my tale. I'm not calling you tired or boring, but I'm just saying that sometimes things look a particular way, but they're really not that. And when they really are, it's something that will not be to your best if you continue it as a pattern.
Well, and that is why we are really looking at patterns. And from even all the examples that we have, and before we move forward, you would recognize that burnout, when you're experiencing burnout, what you're really doing, I know is Patricia who hinted on it, is that you're really functioning from your mind. Because again, you have three aspects of your being. And of course, the most important one is often forgotten, which is your soul. Because your soul is really where all the answers lie. But then, because we're accustomed to the pattern, what we tend to do is just fall back into the pattern. And a lot of times, you don't even recognize the pattern of what not working for us, because we're in it for so long. And we don't even stop to really assess and reassess to see, is this working? Should I adopt something more efficient? Has this now become obsolete? A lot of times, because of familiarity, we just stay there. This is what I am accustomed to. I know it have a leak in the roof, but this is what I'm accustomed to, so I will just put a bucket to catch the water. My car making a noise, but this is what I'm accustomed to. It's still moving forward. It's singing like a shack shack, but it's still moving forward. So let me just continue. Something may not be working, but it is work sometimes. Why not pay attention to the process and see if there is a more efficient way? But if your conscious awareness is always stuck in the past, then you are never in the present moment to receive the solutions that you're asking for. So you have to also ask yourself the question, where is your conscious awareness? Is it even present? What is it focused on? Because you would see that whatever your conscious awareness is focused on is the world that you have created. And if you just look around you, you would see what you have created. Take a moment to look around you and see what you have created with your conscious awareness. And if there are some things that you know could be more efficient, then take another look and really sit with yourself and discover what that might be. But in order to discover what that might be, you really have to sit with you and look within. Because with all the examples of burnout, you would recognize that it came from sources outside of you. So now is the opportunity to really ask yourself and ask your soul what is required for you moving forward, because you recognize that functioning from your mind is not working. Because you're tired, you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you have anxiety, you're going to end up by the doctor. And even for some of us who want to save money, you're going to end up by the doctor with the same money that you saved. Because you didn't take the time to take the same money and go and do something fun or something you enjoy. When last you went to the movies, when last you went to dinner, when last you just took a drive to go on a beach, when last you went to a dance class. Have you enrolled in an exercise class if you find that you can't do it for yourself? How are you really and truly finding balance? Because you would recognize that it's not even part of your schedule, it's nowhere in sight. It's nowhere in sight. And I know for a lot of the parents, especially, that is where you really tend to lose you, eh? Instead of just carve out a little space for yourself. If it's once for the month, you might be able to start with that. Carve out a space for you. And in this space, I am going to do A. But are you going to carve it out for yourself, or are you going to carve it out and then do it with guilt and not even enjoy it? Because a lot of times, again, that is what you tend to do. Carve out yourself, carve out a space for you to go and enjoy, to go and relax, to go and unwind. You might go and have a drink with your friends, whatever it is. Again, everybody don't like the beach. Everybody don't like going to restaurants. Everybody don't like the movies. But what do you do really for you? And when you look at your routine, and if your routine is not working, then what? Do you stay in the routine? Or do you try to develop something that is new and that is working more efficiently for you? What do you do when you recognize that something is not working? That is a question. When you recognize something within your routine is not working, what do you do? Now, this silence is saying that.
I think it still take too long to change
Okay.
because you still want to have another look at the routine to see if you could just tweak it a little bit. It's not going to work. You probably tweaked it 400 times already, but you still want to stay there as opposed to saying, this is not working.
Mhm.
This is like one rotten potato in the bag. It's time to just take it out of the bag and put it in the dustbin, as opposed to trying to see if you can save this little end and maybe cut around that.
This
And
piece.
you just, so for me, I think the time it takes to ruminate like that too adds to the foolishness because you know what you have to do. You actually know what you have to do. When I have to move, I know when I have to move. But you sit there a little while longer because it's comfortable, and it's also comfortable to be able to talk about the fact that you need to move because you will always find company to back you up in that conversation. Nobody's moving anywhere. So, but you get comfortable there. So when it's time to move, sometimes you have to do something drastic. Like how some people go and cut off all their hair. When you start, you may just have to move. Because for me, I know I take too long sometimes to move. And then when I finally move, then I say, oh my God, I should have moved so much earlier than this, so and so and so and so. And you stand up there praising yourself for eventually doing what you should have done in the first place.
And
So,
while you stand and praise yourself for doing what you eventually should have done in the first place, you don't realize how much that time have affected other things.
not even where you're supposed to be while you're congratulating yourself. You're already way behind. You already lost so much, but you still want to congratulate yourself that I finally moved. I showed you a potato away.
And sometimes
So,
totally, totally unaware of how many other missed opportunities that you have created. So now the space between you and your goal it just got a little wider. So every time you take long to move, the space between you and your goal it goes like this. So you have more distance to cover. So you think you're burnt out now? You ain't burnt out yet. Because now you're worried and you're overthinking and why it is taking so long. But are you following the guidance that your soul is providing? Or are you continue to just walk over it and say, well, I'll do it tomorrow? Remember, guys, there is only now. If your conscious awareness is not in the present moment, you will not be there to receive what you have been asking for. You would be stuck constantly in the past or stuck constantly worrying about the future. Where does your conscious awareness lie? And once you
I was
can,
gonna say, I think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was going to say there's so many layers to that question. It seems like a simple question, but as I think about it, I'm like, whoa, because that goes back to the to some of the first lesson from last year in terms of ego, in terms of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And to Catherine's point, I think sometimes we get comfortable in our discomfort.
Yes.
And there's a whole notion about how sometimes people who are kidnapped, they develop this unhealthy relationship with their kidnapper, where it's almost like they come on their side. And I think oftentimes it's a question even for me to process, because if I realize I'm uncomfortable in this relationship in this particular instant, I might do something else, but there are some other relationship it's harder to make that same decision, to separate, to move on. So it's really a loaded question, and again, I appreciate it. It's food for thought for sure, but I think there's so many layers to it for sure.
Yeah, and that is also what Anastasia and Lisa was explaining about the genius goals question. Because with it, even though you may not be participating, it is still good to really read it and really look within, because it helps you to truly discover you and sometimes truly overcome some of the hurdles, just as Asriel was explaining. Sometimes the challenges that were sent for you to overcome, you become friends with it and you build up your house around it. You carry your blanket outside and you're sleeping outside with it now. And you were supposed to overcome that, not become friends with it and make it your comfort. Well, I can't overcome this, I might as well just stay here. You know, it was really supposed to be for you to overcome it, to build your resilience. But if every time you're faced with something, and again, guys, when you are faced with any obstacle challenge, ask yourself the question: am I going to continue functioning from my mind to overcome this, which is based on your past experiences? Or am I going to bring my conscious awareness to where it is supposed to be in the present moment to receive the next step forward? That is a question that you really have to ask yourself. What are you going to do in this moment? Are you going to continue in the pattern that is not working but familiar? Or are you going to really pause and do some introspection and go within to find out what is the next step for me in this moment? Because herein lies the difference. If you want a different result, you have to do something different. If you stay in the same pattern, you will be in the same pattern always with the same results, with the same complaints, with the same diseases, with the same money to spend by the doctor. Yes, Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes. You know, to me, everything boils down to how much you love yourself and what you want for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to reach to the stage where you put you first. And once you put you first, you have to know this is not for me, this is not serving me, all what is not serving you, get rid of it, scrape off what you have to scrape off your plate, do whatever it is you have to do to get you in the place where you want you to be. And it just boils down to that. It just boils down to prioritizing you.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is how, for me, that's how it's working for me right now, you know. Sometimes a situation might come up, yes, and I tempted to go in that direction, and I have to question myself, this is what you want for you, and I get the answer from my soul. No, this is not what I want for me. I want something better for me, and I just leave it alone. It
Mhm.
might be tempting, it might be whatever, leave it alone. Because it wouldn't bring forth the best you. And you're aiming for the best you. You have to be aiming for the best for yourself. You don't want no, you know, settling and all this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
and I talking so because I've been in befitment, I telling you, befitment like it befitment become my savior right now. Trust me. Reading the articles, genius goals, being here on a Monday, listening for the rest of the week. Trust me.
Hmm. Because even as we talk about the rest of the week, the rest of this week is really, really enlightening. Let me just share it with you. I know we're still discussing it, but I just want to tie everything together so that you all understand how everything really ties together. Because, of course, it doesn't just end on a Monday. So, while tonight we discuss from burnout to balance, tomorrow we would be discussing how habits shape identity. So, routines define who you are and who you become. Because a lot of times, again, the routine's not working, but we're not changing it because it is familiar. And of course, from 7, we have the fuel and flex body workout, which is also an important aspect of your being that is often overlooked. Exercise is very, very, very important. On Wednesday from 10 a.m., we have counseling and consultations. And then from 6, we would be discussing training the mind for change because we understand how difficult it is seeing that you're in a pattern for so long. And sometimes it is very difficult to break the pattern. So we would be discussing the frameworks and practices to become the change. On Thursday, we have counseling and consultations. And then from 6, we would be discussing designing your days with purpose. And why is this important? Because you must always have a clear intention. If you have no clear intention, what you're working towards. So that is why, another reason why as well, your results might always be zero. Because you have no intention, you're thinking these things don't have no purpose. So you're just living life however it fly. That is what it is. It's not really important, and we would be discussing how to structure your time and habits to align with your needs. So, this week is a very, very important week for those who would really like the extra assistance. And I always encourage persons, especially those who are doing the Genius Goals question, to log in first before you answer. Because when you log in first, remember you would get a lot more wisdom before answering the question, because sometimes we unknowingly are missing a lot of things that we are totally unaware of. And then from 7, we have the fuel and flex body workout. On Friday, we have counseling and consultations. And from 5 p.m., we have free to be, where you celebrate, relax, restore, and unwind. And on Saturday, we have counseling and consultations from 10. And then from 3, we are closed. This, of course, is open to premium members, which is $96 TTD or 15 USD per month. So if it is something that you are interested in, please let us know. And also, we have our 7-day jumpstart. So if you would like a 7-day jumpstart as well, to just log in for 7 days to experience it. For those who are not yet premium members, you also have that opportunity. So you should certainly just now take it if you can take it. Yes, Katrin, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
I was I was in listening to Anastasia
Mm-hmm.
and Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that for those two persons, the way they speak about the changes that have occurred in their lives from when they first started with BeFitment to now. I was going to say this is not only from Monday night, and being premium members, this gives additional support and additional access to the knowledge, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is really the meat, the full meat of the matter, and it is not even like this format. So I was taking the opportunity to point that out to persons who are on the live, that even if you're not sure at this point in time, jump onto the 7 day pass so that you can actually see what goes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And as a premium member, you also have access to one-on-one consultations and things like that, which help you to grow and really expand. So when I listen to Anastasia and Lisa, and some of the insights and the wisdom they pour into the discussions on a Monday night, it is really happening. Even for me, sometimes, like Anastasia will bring a point and Lisa will bring a point, and it causes you to reflect. And then when you hear them credit what it is, I just wanted to say it's not only Monday night that gives them this kind
Yeah.
of insights. It is becoming a premium member where you have the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the one-on-ones, the personalized plans. So yes, I realize I'm doing a little marketing here and a little plug, but I do encourage everyone to at least
Mm-hmm.
claim your 7 day pass to see, just get a glimpse of really how much the wisdom can move you forward and
Mm-hmm.
out of a lot of what we sometimes think we're stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really what I was going to say. I was just acknowledging Lisa and Anastasia and their growth.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. And even for Patricia, are you there?
Yes.
For someone who recently started with premium in terms of coming on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, how has your experience been?
Well, for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday gone, there was a lot of new learning.
Okay.
It's a lot of stuff that is new to me, and I thought very worthwhile for my growth. Very, very worthwhile,
Okay.
because I wanted. My goal is to develop this kind of peace. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a peaceful person in every way, in everything. You know, just to be at peace. And I
Mm-hmm.
think just following on that path, I will get there.
For sure, for sure. For sure, sure, sure. And Gillis, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How has your experience been so far as another recent person who has been logging on to the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
I am more in control.
Mm-hmm.
I am attending less to fly off the handle.
Mm-hmm.
I check it myself. And I check it myself, and I keep in everything within a nice space
Okay.
before responding and before acting.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that is very, very good to note because, guys, at the end of the day, every single solitary thing begins and ends with you. If you decide today, this is enough, enough is enough, I am not moving forward anymore like this, you would put an end to it and adopt something new. If you decide, I am going to stay where I am, you would stay where you are and experience the same things that you're experiencing. And in remaining stuck, you know what happens? Things only get worse. They do not tend to get better. You just adapt to it. They do not get better. They only continue getting worse. And sometimes what you do is you continue to adapt to it. And even if you're adapting to something new, remember it might be difficult when you now start, but as you continue to do it, you would recognize that things are getting a lot easier. And it starts to become more oneness with you. And everything starts with you. Function from your soul and less from your mind. When you function from your mind, which is not connected to anything, that is why you tend to run into the same issues over and over that you're experiencing. If you look to your mind for solutions, remember the solutions that your mind holds from your past, it might no longer be even there. It might now be obsolete. It might be something of the past. That is why it is important to remain in the present moment in order to know how to move forward. Yes, you might be accustomed flying off the handle. Yes, you might be accustomed doing things this particular way. But give yourself the opportunity to really function from your highest point. And once you stay there and you make it part of your routine, you would recognize that this is what is working for me. And in addition to the Genius Goals question, which would be sent out on social media, because again, it would be formulated a lot differently moving forward. You all have a little bit of homework for tonight and for this week. And your challenge or homework is building a daily 10-minute routine. If it is what, and before you even build it, remember what is your intention. Set your intention first and then develop your own 10-minute routine. So if it is to restart my day more calm instead of rushing off to work, so if you decide, well, I'm going to wake up 15 minutes earlier, I'm going to sit, I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'll ask myself, what is required for you today after you ask the question? You sit, you might do a little meditation, self-reflection, introspection. Then you move forward, you might come off your bed. The first thing you do is drink some water to revitalize your body. After revitalizing your body, you might do a few stretches, might take another few deep breaths. What is your 10-minute routine and what is it geared towards? Everybody's my 10 minutes, somebody else's 10-minute routine might be exercising for 10 minutes. Somebody else's 10-minute routine might be every time I feel like I'm about to fly off the handle at work, I am going to take a few deep breaths and take a walk for 10 minutes and then come back and start over. But you have to determine what is your 10-minute routine geared towards. And then before we start next week, Monday's session, we would discuss it. You don't have to go into detail, but this is your opportunity again to develop one and practice it. And see what is not working and change it as well. Do not continue if it is not working. Adopt something new. You might need to do a little bit more of this and a little bit less of this. So you have your routine to develop. And once you develop one and it's working, guys, it will just develop more. So it becomes less of a habit and more of something that is functional and efficient and effective so that you know how to move forward. And when the thought comes, stop thinking it's because you went and sleep too late and you eat ice cream. So you ignore it. And then you're in the same space. And then we're talking about the same thing next year. Guys, do you understand? I hope, especially for tonight's session, you are able to identify, especially burnout, recognize it within yourself, find balance after recognizing it within yourself so that you're always functioning from a neutral space, because that is really where you're supposed to be functioning from. Take this week to do some self reflection. If you are burnt out, even if you didn't like anything as a child, there is something you might be interested in now. There is something. It could be drawing, it could be art, it could be dancing, it could be, well, in Trinidad, we have steel pan. It could be learning how to sew. It could be going to a cooking class. What do you enjoy doing? So, on top of building your routine, identify what do you enjoy doing and why are you not doing more of it? And for the Genius Goals question persons, the question will be sent out at 9 p.m. And before we end tonight's session, does anyone have any questions or are they unclear about anything? Or even in terms of identifying burnout within themselves or where to reach from when it does happen or how to find balance when it does happen? All right. So see you guys next week. Same place, same time. And be ready with your answers to what do you enjoy doing because I will certainly be asking. Good night, everyone, and have an amazing, mindful week.
Good night.
Good night.